Well, here we are, water view right across the whole park. Just not what you would expect to see these days. It looks so different. I mean, you probably can't tell from here what was where. I can, but that's because I've researched the hell out of it, and because I do remember things as a kid when I came here. But that's the job for me today, to take you round and hopefully show you exactly where things were by using the magic of my photo fades to try and explain what was where way back when. Just looking back again once towards what was Snake Island there. If you remember the miniature railway running around the edge of the lake and would have continued round the lake that way, it's now bridged across with this land. And then you had the Fisherman's Wharf right there and the main path coming round. And right about here, just somewhere on the right here, would have been, so that's the Aztec Kingdom or the Pioneer Playland building right there. And you came down through the old graveyard towards the western town, which was somewhere over here. They had the pirate ship and the big wheel, the wagon wheel, right here. And then looking across the lake towards, I think it was called Pier 49, where you boarded the paddle steamers. And then you had the western town on the right hand side and the saloon bar, remember that? And just on the left hand side you've got what was Nightmare Niagara and also the runaway mine train. And then looking directly across the lake at what was Nightmare Niagara, which was the largest log flume in the world at the time. And I think it might have been right towards its end as well. It was a fantastic ride. In fact, it was one of my favourite log flumes ever. Absolutely loved it. That drop was something else. The speed you used to hit the water at the bottom, you could swear you were going to skim straight off it. And that second drop was so steep, you used to think you were going to rip your head off on the roof. What a shame. The best log flume ever gone, just like that. They did demolish that in 2006, or in fact I think the last season for it was 2004. And when I went in 2006 it was all flattened and they had a little mini mine train there, which was rubbish. And right in front of us there, that little island has always been there. That was here when the park was here, and I think they just had some little figures on it, if I remember rightly, because the miniature railway ran around the edge here and they had a lot of Indian figures and Western kind of statues on there. I remember that. And Pier 49, where you used to get the paddle steamers, was right here in front of us now, at Lakeside obviously. We're slightly raised now, we're probably 10 feet above the lake, but this would have been all flat and used to go off on your paddle steamer that way. And you had some little dinghy boats, if I remember rightly, some little rowing boats on the right hand side here. And as we pan over here to the right, this is roughly where the Western stage show was, the Western town was right here. Probably where the street is. If they could only name the street after it, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Imagine it being called Lazy Lil's Road or something. But yeah, they had this saloon bar right here somewhere, and the Western Village was probably about here. So I now believe that this to be the exact spot of the saloon bar with the Wild West show inside. I remember that. And it had like a bucking bronco as well. I remember that in the 90s. So weird to see it now as it is. So we're finally at the original level of where the miniature railway would have been. So this section here is pretty much untouched apart from stripped of everything it had. So the miniature railway would have come towards us here. And you can actually still see the curve if you just look where the track would have gone round here, around the edge. And it ran up here and along the edge, and you had Nightmare Niagara right there on the other side and the runaway mine train. And then the western town was literally there with the saloon right in front of you. So but this is the level it was at. Like I said, it's been raised now, so that road is probably 5-6 feet above. But this is the actual level. It was right down next to the lake. Just walking around the edge of the lake where the railway would have been, we found this. Our first piece of actual evidence, can't believe it. It's a Q post by the looks of it, and it's got red paint on it. I'm going to have a look at a picture and see if we can find any fence posts with red paint on it. I've got a feeling maybe from the Niagara site or the runaway mine train, and definitely a paving brick there. It's not a house brick. That's one that you would find on the floor, crazy paving. And another little find down here. Looks like a piece of railway track. Could that be from the miniature railway, which was right here, or is it colliery related? Because I'm sure when they've dug a lot of this up, they've dug a lot of the old colliery remains, bits of coal in the ground. So wouldn't surprise me if they haven't dug out some bits from the old colliery as well. So we've walked around the edge of where the miniature railway would have run, around the edge of Niagara and things like that, but at this point the railway would have gone off that way. And up there, you would have had the rapids, or the fort that used to be there, Fort St. Lawrence, with the rapids on the hillside up there. I'll try and get as close to that as I can. But for now, this island, if you remember it, is original. It was here. And I remember there being a flat ride on the island somewhere here. I think they had an Helter Skelter later in its life. And the balloon ride, remember that, was somewhere just over here. But yeah, I remember this. Now they've got a little water channel here, which wasn't here originally. But this bit is still intact, so let's have a look on the island and see if there's anything on there. Yeah, we're on the island now. I don't remember ever coming on here when the park was open. But there's not much to see anyway. A lot of litter, and again, it's all been disturbed, so I was hoping it might be left as it was, but it isn't. It's all been turned over by diggers. There's a lot of rebar sticking out the floor, so I'm going to guess they've dumped a lot of the concrete from the rapids here, maybe. And that's what we're seeing. You can see they've raised it up slightly there. Yeah, I was hoping to find some bits, but this section here definitely is untouched. But nothing to see. We're right on the edge of the lake now, looking back towards the where the Pier 49 was on the other side of that island opposite. And just down at the lake edge, looking back towards where the main entrance would have been coming in. The Sky Coaster would have been somewhere around here. And then you had the Twin Looper, Iron Wolf, JCB Twin Looper, whatever they called it, right there. And the old Alamo section with the stadium. And then Buffalo was over there. So just down from the island on the lakeside again, we've just stumbled across this concrete platform here, which is jutting out into the lake. This to me looks like a boat loading platform, possibly. I've just looked on the old picture and there was something here, but it's hard to make out what it was. So I'll see if I can find out what it is and put it in below. Yeah, it's definitely a rectangle platform of some sort. I mean, this mud wouldn't have been here, but whatever it was would have docked here. I remember there being a railway station or a train station round here for the miniature railway, but I don't think it was it was a bit further round there, I think. In fact, I just found this picture as I was stood here, and it was where the steamer, the paddle steamer, docked up. So I was right, it was a boating dock. Yeah, it must have been deeper there because you couldn't have got a boat in there, but it used to come from Pier 49 over there and probably stop here, and I think it stopped round there as well. Now we're looking there towards what was the rapids and the Fort St. Lawrence, right in the middle there. Again, it's been raised a lot higher. It would have been about this level here in the middle where the fort was, and the rapids at the back there. It's so strange to see it now. And just from the top of this giant mound that I'm stood on, so roughly there in front of us would have been the mountain, and Nightmare Niagara was there, and the runaway mine train was about here, and you headed round on the pathway and just up this hill here to where the fort was. So we're going to head up there in a second and see. I mean, there's nothing remaining, but we can see if we can get a viewpoint up there just as we're heading up the rapids hillside. Like I said, you can see they've built it all up now. I think that was the original level there where the pathway is for the level of the fort, and then the rapids on that side. This looks like something out of a film, heading up through these high-sided mounds here. So we're at the top of the mound where the rapids was, some probably 20-30 feet below our feet right now, and a big pile of rocks on the top, which look to me like the ones that used to sit around the edge of the rapids ride. They're probably keeping for later on. You can also see, I think, an old railway sleeper there. Some fencing posts again. Now this is definitely from the fort. The lining of the fort, when they built the fort, they had the wooden strips on the outside with the brown paint on it. So this is 100% from Fort St Lawrence. And also, I think I can see a railway sleeper around here. A smaller one, which could have been off the bridge. It used to span underneath here, and some more of it there, look. Yeah, that looks like an old truss off the bridge. Plenty of little bits around, you just got to find them. Now we've reached probably one of the highest points on the site. And I'm going to put this picture on for you now. I'm going to fade it in, just to give you a view of what we're looking at right now and how much it's changed. You can see the Snake Island, the fort is, or the Fort St Lawrence is at the bottom of the picture, just popping out the trees. And you can see the bridge across to the rapids, which are underneath where we are now. And then the western town on the left, Aztec Kingdom, straight forward. Yeah, that looks so different now, doesn't it? And then back out to today. Nothing like it anymore.
Let's take a look at what happened to some of the attractions at the park and which ones are still around today. Before we end the video, I'd like to share some of my cringy on-ride photos from the park, starting with my first visit in 1989, at 7 years old, and my first major roller coaster ride on the newly opened Missile.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here at American Adventure. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.